So this is perceived favoritism. This is one of my favorite topics, and I'm going to show you something later on. We'll do a little bit of sort of like just research on the go after this, but here's procurement strategies were challenged to allow for McKinsey's participation. So McKinsey again is McKinsey and Company is the main consultant that the Canadian government hires. They spent, what was it, Darren, in 2019? What was it, 22 billion or 19 billion in 2022? Or I keep
It's
forgetting.
averages 20 billion a year.
So I just find that hard to believe. That's 20,000 million. I cannot believe those numbers. But anyways, here's an investigation.
Got Clyde doing the 1,000 million thing too.
Oh, good. It's working. Really?
I don't know if you got it from you, but it's annoying.
You must have heard me say it. Okay, here we go.
Independent organization, my legislative mandate includes the review of procurement practices of federal departments to assess fairness, openness, and transparency and consistency with laws, policies, and guidelines, which is what we're here to discuss today. On February 3rd, 2023, the Minister of Public Services and Procurement requested that I conduct a review looking into contracts awarded to McKinsey and Company.
So this is going back over a year now, I guess, right? February 2023, so like 14 months ago.
Once my office was able to establish reasonable grounds as per our regulatory requirements, the review was launched on March 16th, 2023. As per our legislative deadline, my office completed the review of McKinsey contracts on March 15th, 2024, and the report was published on our website on April 15th, 2024. My office examined the procurement files of 32 McKinsey contracts and one National Master Standing Offer, or NMSO.
Okay, so 32 contracts and a Master Standing Offer. So it'll be interesting.
Issued to McKinsey through competitive and non-competitive procurement processes to assess their fairness, openness, and transparency and their compliance with legislation, regulation, policy, and procedural requirements. PSPC was the contracting department for 23 contracts and the National Master Standing Offer. The review did not include contracts awarded by federal organizations that are not in my mandate. For example, contracts awarded to McKinsey by Crown corporations.
So only governments, not Crown corporations. Interesting.
With regards to competitive procurement practices leading to the award of contracts, my office identified instances where procurement strategies were changed to allow for McKinsey's participation in the procurement process, creating a perception of favoritism towards McKinsey.
So you know how big that is, right? It's like you're changing the way the contract is tendered so that somebody specifically will get it.
Also observed deficiencies related to bid evaluations in multiple files, including missing or incomplete documentation, failure to conduct evaluations as per planned approach, and the inappropriate reevaluation of bids, leading to McKinsey being deemed the only compliant bid.
See that? I mean, that's unbelievable. When I used to work at the aerospace company, I found it when I did this research. I found our company name in there. It's a different name now than when I worked for it, but we had to do contracts for overhauling the helicopters and stuff. And I mean, it had to be, you had to go through reams of paperwork and all this process. And it's just hard to imagine that we would have. And I mean, of course, sometimes like we were probably favored because we're the only company that can overhaul all the different sort of items, but we still had to jump through all these hoops, right? Like I have a hard time imagining like that the guy, the consultant we used, or did even work for the government or work for us, that help us with these contracts, that that they could ever make it like what he's talking about, right? Ever like drop the ball like he's talking about.
My office also identified shortfalls related to personal security clearances, including lack of documentation to show that security clearances of proposed resources were verified before they were authorized to work, or to confirm that contracts were sent to PSPC's contract security program when required. With regards to non-competitive procurement practices leading to the award of contracts, my review found that the sole source justification used by PSPC to establish the McKinsey Benchmarking Services NMSO did not contain the required information needed to justify this sole source standing offer.
Imagine that. You have a sole source standing offer that doesn't even have the documentation to justify it.
19 contracts known as call-ups with a total value of almost $49 million were issued to McKinsey
Stop
without
it for a sec.
competition.
So this is why we're going to have an election before 580 days from now, right? This is why. I think there's a chance that the Liberals will call it.
I don't know. I mean, this isn't really talking about
every fucking one of these committees and investigations will be instantly shut down if the government dissolves.
I'm not too sure I follow. So what you're saying is
so basically the RiveCan, fucking what's the other one? Was the other big one? The company out of Quebec.
SNC Lavalin.
SNC Lavalin. This one, all of these scandals that are being done because it's all these committees, right? It's all these committees that are all those committees go away as soon as an election's called.
There's emergency powers as well, like from the Diagolon bullshit. That was a whole controversy as well.
Yeah. Well, also, all those people investigating all of that stuff stops as soon as an election's called.
Well, so let's keep in mind these numbers, and that's
and it would come back up, but it's going to take a while. You know what I mean? Like you would buy yourself 2 or 3 years. Of not of like
get out of the country to go to your island,
or even just to burn some shit, dude. Like honestly, right now it's like everyone's watching, but you get an election going on, and you can start shredding some documents, and no one gives a fuck. And by the time everything comes, if it even does, right? Because all these guys say, "Oh yeah, well, if we get in power, we're gonna keep going." I don't think that's true. I don't think Trudeau ain't going to jail, man. It ain't.
No, of course not. Well, I like that theory for sure, but the interesting part, I want you to hear the numbers here, because I almost think this is a bit of a distraction in a way, because these numbers don't seem like a lot. Like after we look at what I showed you, listen to this.
SBC to establish the McKinsey Benchmarking Services NMSO did not contain the required information needed to justify this sole source standing offer. 19 contracts known as call-ups with a total value of almost $49 million were issued to McKinsey without competition against this standing offer.
49 million. Whoopee-doo. And you said 22,000 million, per year on average.
Billion.
20,000 million.
1,000 million bullshit.
20,000 million, and they're worried about 49 here.
We also found that the vast majority of call-ups issued against the McKinsey Benchmarking Services NMSO were void of any description of the specific work to be carried out by McKinsey.
Devoid of description.
And by extension, proper PSPC oversight. In these files, there was no evidence on file that a statement of work had been developed in advance of determining the procurement strategy or contacting McKinsey with the requirement. In these cases, it was impossible for my office to determine the extent to which McKinsey defined the requirement for these departments, which is a serious threat to the fairness of the procurement process. All call-ups issued against the McKinsey Benchmarking Services NMSO were non-competitive. The majority of these call-ups also lacked sole source justifications. Sole source justifications were never sought by PSBC in its capacity as the contracting department. In total, 18 of the 19 competitive call-ups were awarded by PSBC in the absence of justification on file. We also...
that is pretty bad, right? 18 and 19 without justification. That's pretty bad. But these are just tiny ones.
Noted conflicting information regarding the use of McKinsey Benchmarking Services NMSO for call-ups with security requirements. My office also examined practices for issuing contract amendments and task authorizations for McKinsey. Overall, contract amendments were appropriate and were in line with policy and guidelines, but several issues were noted, including an instance where the contract amendment was not on file, an instance where the contract amendment was not issued prior to contract expiry, and an instance where the call-up was amended to increase the value by nearly $2 million without a clear description of the changes to the scope of work.
I'll just bump that contract up $2 million, no problem, and then just send me some, a little bag of cash later on. So that's about it. So what I want to do is just take you to the government website here. So this is like actually opencanada.ca. So this is the government's Canada. So you can find government spending and operations in here, right? Contracts over 10,000. So I was playing around in here, and I downloaded a couple spreadsheets. I was like, okay, I'm going to just find these McKinsey contracts myself, right? Go into the spreadsheets, find them all. And but I had to pick these types, and it's like thousands and thousands of documents. So I thought, well, interestingly, I just ended up going in here and I go, okay, like McKinsey, you know, and all the contracts come up, right? So let's sort it by value, let's say.
Is that one 3 billion?
Well, no, that's the thing.
5 billion.
No,
5
5
million.
million. 5 million. Like total value is 29 million here, right? So don't forget, he was talking about 19 contracts for 49 million, and we're talking about billions every year, right? On average, apparently. Now, I don't know how many years they, like if one year was an anomaly or whatever, but I just don't know how they're getting billions, because when you look at these, this is the top contract. There's 37 records for McKinsey, but you got to be careful because there's different McKinseys. Like you see how the font is different on these. I bet you those are different masters. Like that supplier is set up differently in each of those, right? But you can see that this 29 million is the total value. The amendment value is 2 million. The original value is 4.9. So, and the contract date is the end of 2022. So this is for management consulting. It's an amendment service. The consultants are OPEX. Now, when I searched OPEX, I mean, it's kind of just weird on its own because it has like all these OPEX consulting companies, all these websites for different things. Like it's like what there's all these OPEX and they're not the same, but they're for different consulting services. It kind of weirded me out. This one here, 24.8, so almost 25 million. I wonder if okay, the 25 million. Original value was 16 million on that one. Again, for consulting, management consulting, and it says this contract was omitted from a previous public disclosure. Management consulting services to develop and implement various transformation strategies, immigration, refugees, and citizenship Canada. So that's kind of interesting. They're consulting on immigration for 25 million. And then it drops right down to 5 million here. So I wanted to show you there's a bunch national defense. So there's a whole bunch of these. So this is a call up here, a call up against a standing order. So this is where I think that, you know, if that 5 million is a call up from a standing order, how big is that standing order, right? But we don't really see that. I don't think you can. So we get to see the call ups in here, but we don't get to see like the total value of that. But I guess I just have a hard time imagining how these like $3 million, $5 million, $6 million call ups are going to equal billions. Here's a sole sourced one. The call.
That's only McKinsey, though.
What's that?
That's only McKinsey.
Oh yeah, but they're by far the biggest. I mean,
no, dude. So here's so if I go to the list of the top consulting firms in Canada, there's 50 different. Just so if I go to say sustainability, there's EY, KPMG, Deloitte, Boston Consulting Group, Bain and Company, McKinsey and Company is number 6.
Wow.
Accenture, Strategy N, Mercer, DSS Plus, and this is all just Canada. So okay, if we go to so let's go to a management consulting. So the top management consulting firms in Canada, the top government consulting firms in Canada under management are KPMG. Number 2 is McKinsey in that category.
Yeah.
Deloitte, Strategy N, Boston Consulting Group. I mean, it's a lot of the same names. You could probably start searching some of them, but I just feel like that's 5%. You know, I feel like McKinsey's, you know, $500 million.
So here's I just took McKinsey out, and there's almost 1 million records here ordered by so I search it by value. So this is the top one, BGIS Global Integrated Solutions, back from 2014. So that's 5.7 billion right there. 5.7 billion, 5.7 billion. So that was like November. So in November, this BGIS got 3 contracts for 5.7 billion.
The election was in October.
Yeah, holy shit, that's a lot. Like 20.
In October of 2015.
Yeah, maybe. So here's another one, like 5 billion for Irving Shipbuilding. Well, that's probably like, you know, some big ships or something.
There's another 5 billion,
5 billion.
2015. Can't you
5
change the
billion.
dates? There's a 28. There's a 5 billion in 2018. Can you
Yeah.
go by dates?
No, I'd have to download the spreadsheet and it's hard to work with the spreadsheet, but 4.7. Let me just go to next here and see. 4.5 billion. So it tells you when it's competitively sourced, right? Look at that one. Tools and implements for 4.5 billion. Aircraft parts, 4.3 billion. That's for the F-35 Lightning. Airbus, 3.7 billion. So I mean, I'm not questioning, like, you got it. Some of this stuff has to happen, obviously, right? But
PCL, 2.8 billion.
PCI, yeah, wow. Miscellaneous expenditures not elsewhere classified. National Defense, Airbus. So that's, I mean, of course, there's going to be a lot of these
So you
massive.
can start seeing where you get to 20 billion pretty quick. I mean, just that F-35 in 2022 is 5 billion.
Yeah, but the problem is McKinsey is a consultant play, and they were doing national defense. I mean, if I put McKinsey back in there,
This is actual contracts now, not consultors.
this is a contract. Yeah, that's still.
Yeah, so I've got all the I had all the consulting stuff open.
But look at this. Is this not weird then? So check this out here. Look at all the. Oh no, not month. Let's go to year here. Where do I go? Where do I go? Find year, contract year. So is this weird that it goes so and this could be completely because now it's digitized or something. Like, again, I'm not trying to like make up this drama or whatever, but look at how it goes from 2004 here, right? Let me just round off the numbers, like 14,000, 24,000, 20,000, 23,000, 27,000, 36, 41, 50. This is the amount of contracts. And then we get up to.
What if you type Boston Consulting Group in that search?
Watch this. 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. Now it's up at 70,000. Like, there's definitely a marked increase when you get up to 2017. It jumps by 20,000 contracts.
50%. Try KPMG too.
$27 million at the top. 2022, another 22 million. KPMG, 13 million. National Defense, Public Services, Health Canada, Shared Services Canada. So Health Canada paid KPMG in 2022, the end of 2022, 22.6 million.
Try EY.
EY. Ernst & Young.
Yeah.
2.8 billion, 2.3 million.
They seem to be they're the number one finance consulting firm in Canada.
Yeah. What was the one you mentioned?
Boston. Just try Boston. That's it.
Yeah, 4.2 million. So, I mean, the biggest ones are the billions, but I just don't see how that's getting up to like.
Wait, would the consulting be by contract?
No. I mean, no, there'd be multiple contracts for them, right? Because they were in different departments. Like if I put McKinsey back in here, for example, just so because that's the one I keep kind of bitching about. That one's for public services, organization, immigrant. That one's for immigration. That one's for employment and social development. That's
how
for
much work are they doing without a contract, though?
Well, that's the point, right? So this is a call up against a standing offer. So there must be like a standing offer that's bigger, and this is a call up, a $3 million call up on this other contract. So, like, we don't know what the total of that other contract is. I guess it just shows the call ups in here, right? You'd think you'd be able to see like the original contract, but maybe this is like after it's been this over 10,000. It's been after it's been posted or processed, right? It shows up in here. So there could be like this open order, an open standing order for all kinds of services. And these are just the call ups that get submitted into here. But it's for all different departments. Information retrieval services, database, a lot of that. Other professional services not elsewhere specified, national defense. National defense, a lot for national defense. Canada Border Services Agency. That one must have had to stay under 2 million for some reason. 1.99998.
Yeah, something happens at 2 million. Someone looks at something. Someone
Yeah.
reads something.
Yeah. National defense. Lots of national defense for McKinsey, which kind of shocked me a little bit. I thought it would have been more of immigration or sort of management consulting. Because I mean, people need to be trained. There's nothing wrong with using professional management consultants and the people that put together, like, as if the government employees are going to know how to do like process planning and all that kind of stuff and strategic planning. Like, it's good to have facilitators. I'm not totally against all that, you know.
Sure, as long as they're not setting policy, because I didn't vote for them.
Exactly. And that's the problem, is they're running the government, I think.